And we are all on Zoom. Don't forget, this is a historical event, GRADUAN ASPIRE's first virtual event. So this could be the new norm, as one of our speakers, Vinesh, was saying to me off camera earlier. So speaking of which, I'm going to introduce Vinesh very, very shortly, as well as the other speakers. Our topic here today is the new norm in talent management. So what's this? When the phone rings, you got to say, what is the new norm in talent management? Okay. So you got to pick that phone up and say to that person, how do we solve talent management challenges and issues? So the phone will ring sometimes, and that's what will happen. So all jokes aside, thank you very much to our speakers. I'm just going to introduce them one by one before we dwell straight into the topic. Okay, the man with the colorful shirt, wearing his heart on his sleeve, PricewaterhouseCoopers, is Mr. Vinesh Naidu, Human Capital Leader at PricewaterhouseCoopers Malaysia. Vinesh has been in the financial services industry since 2015. His degree was in applied economics from the University of Malaya, but his passion is in talent management and leadership development, and he has a master's in applied psychology and coaching. A passionate Penang and Liverpool Football Club person, and he's a firm believer, Vinesh, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's a firm believer in building the right culture. So he always makes sure that everything in PwC is that the culture is you never walk alone. So that is what it is all about. And thank you, Vinesh. So thank you, Vinesh, for being here today. And then on my right is the one and only Ms. Norida Hamid, Chief Human Resource Officer at Prudential. Norida has been in the company for 11 years, so she's very, very young and vibrant. That's why she has the energy to keep going all the time. She is a graduate of Western Michigan University in Business Administration and Computer Information System. How good is that? She knows about business and tech. That's very, very difficult to find, okay? And she's a firm believer. I know, Norida, jangan marah, I did not find this on the internet. I did my homework with all my HR friends. They said, your reputation is very good because your philosophy is all about talent leadership and management, not micromanaging people to death, making sure that you give them the freedom to do the job, working very hard and sacrifice. Yes, we all have to do that. Why? To get things done. So that is what Norida is all about, very much a results-oriented person, and that's very good to see. So thank you, Norida, for being with us. And the gentleman right next to Norida is the one and only Mr. Shazmi Ali, HR Director of Shell. And you know, Shazmi has a very interesting career. He joined Shell in November 2018. He was responsible for Shell's overall HR in Malaysia, which is managing more. But I mean, even though it says 4,500 employees, I'm sure there's a lot more all the time because a lot of people are always trying to work for Shell. With almost 2 decades of business and HR experience, he's a seasoned HR person, not just in Malaysia, but in the Asia Pacific region. Before joining Shell, he was a HR lead for Southeast Asia at Pfizer, based in Singapore. And beyond work, he's very much a family man, an active speaker, and really likes to give back to the HR community. And he talk about work-life balance. He represented Malaysia in touch rugby, in the Touch Rugby World Cup. So good job managing a C-level job and playing some rugby as well. So well done, Shazmi. We'll talk about work-life balance a little bit later. So thank you for being with us, Shazmi. And last but not least, I had to introduce her last because I had to introduce her first earlier today, is the one and only Dato' Noor Manaf. As Dato' Noor needs a little introduction, as Dato' Noor said earlier, she was a chartered accountant and still is connected to that industry. She has worked in many, many industries, and she's also been a lecturer as well. And she holds leadership qualifications from Cornell University and Harvard University. And she has worked not just in Malaysia, like she said earlier, she's worked in London, she's worked in Indonesia, she's worked in Hong Kong, and she's a firm believer in terms of getting people to see, getting your sponsor to see, not just your technical skills, but your people skills and your adaptability. So panel, welcome to our interesting topic today. I'm just going to delve into it today, and I'm going to start with you, Shazmi. Okay, and then I'll move along. And our whole panel will answer this question and say, answer this question as well. What would you say is the biggest transformation in the workplace today? So that's the question to the panel. Yeah, everybody will answer that. Shazmi.
Yeah, I think there are two, but for me, the biggest one is the element of caring for employees. In the past, caring for employees means making a conducive working environment where people go to work and enjoy themselves. But now is ensuring that it's a conducive home environment for them to work and while still enjoy themselves. So I think the element of care is the biggest change I've seen in Shell.
Nice, nice. Norida?
Well, in today's turbulent business environment, many companies are undergoing major change initiatives, and harnessing technological innovation, digital tools has been the works of life. So what I think most important is really, in short, embracing innovative technology and digital tools amongst the biggest transformation you see in the workplace. And it has impact people and business.
So that coming from a trained tech person, nice. Vinesh?
I think well-being, and more specifically mental well-being, I think is very much at the forefront of what is being transformed today and what's important for people. None of us in this call and none of us probably ever listening to the call has ever gone through a pandemic before, and the changes that has come and the importance of dealing with mental well-being is very much at the forefront because of the situation that has arisen around us.
Okay.
I think that's very
Fantastic. That's all.
Well, for me, I think the biggest, and because it has been the hardest, is managers are not paranoid about out of sight, out of mind. That means not performing. Okay, so everybody now are comfortable that as long as you are clear in terms of what the output is required of the person delivers it anywhere, anytime. I think for me, that is groundbreaking.
Fantastic. Okay. I mean, look, great start to the conversation. You've all given different answers, which is fantastic. But let's move on to the next question, which is impact of technology. And Norita, I'll start with you since you've got some technological training behind you, and then I'll move over. But what do you think will be the biggest impact technology that will bring to workplaces in terms of opportunities and new business? You know, it goes back to the point of adaptability as well.
Right. So, well, in Prudential, we're taking the opportunity to shape, to speed, to scale the future of insurance. So industry changes will eventually happen, but we can take control and accelerate it in the right direction. So for example, for business, we have during the pandemic, a remote sales option during the start of our MCO, and which allow our agents to continue to submit cases and business proposal, and customer continues to be our priority, and ensure that they had peace of mind during pandemic. And for our customers too, we developed a Pulse app to further integrate our customers in matters beyond traditional insurance, and engaging platform to promote health. And for our employees, of course, digital learning capabilities for both employees and agents to make sure that they are into learning and getting all the remote work boot camps for our people, digital assessment, which for HR people, you can never imagine in the past that we could do digital assessment, that we always have all the live assessors in front of you assessing you. But now we move into the digital space and having to do it digitally. So upskilling is very key. So for the older generations, people like me, we need to continuously enhance and embrace technology instead of being afraid or resistant. Training can help to reskill and help to understand automation. Not necessarily means that your job will disappear, but yes, some jobs may disappear because of technology. But we always say not the job problem. As long as you embrace the change and you quickly learn, and you will also move along with it. So for younger generations, I think having the digital skills is great advantage, but it's not all the answer to the question. I think soft skills and other social skills, values, attitude, emotional intelligence are just as important as digital tools.
Okay, nice. Vinesh?
Yeah, I just want to actually, Norita actually touched on something that I wanted to talk about as well, and it's very true. Similarly, we are seeing the same thing. I think two things in terms of opportunities and business. From a business side, very slightly, we provide a lot of services, right, at PwC. But what I think this advent of the technology wave means is that I'm not confined. I don't need to look for talent that is just within the Klang Valley. If I want to service a client who has a very specific niche need, they're not going to bat an eyelid today with the current situation. If I say I've got someone sitting at the other end of the world, and the client is not expecting to shake hands and meet first before saying, yeah, okay, I trust you to do this job for me, right? They're so comfortable just doing this all online. And that means I've expanded the opportunity for me to bring in skill sets from all around the world. That's one. But from a opportunity wise, I think the key thing for us that we've embraced in PwC is the opportunity to help bring our people up from a digital perspective, transforming that, right? And we've got this thing internally called the Future Skills Program. And it's really cool because we actually went on this a year ago. And it was very ambitious. We wanted to make sure as much as possible everybody in PwC becomes digital natives. Little did we know that it's just going to become a norm today. What we did was we got everybody getting on board with something called the digital fitness app. A little bit of a promo here. It's free. You can just go to your Play Store and look for digital fitness app by PwC, and it helps us learn by allowing you to get a base score. And picking up digital skills that may be necessary, giving you tools for you to read and listen and watch. But what that means is that people now need to focus on the human skills to align digital and human. And I think that is a key opportunity that we need to pick up on as we move forward as a business. How do you match these two and bring it forward? Because always just meeting online is not going to be the way forward. I think it's going to be a hybrid model.
Good point. That's all.
Well, I'm a firm believer of this saying. It's not about the technology. It's about what you do with the technology. So from a business perspective, we are so thankful that our customers, our over 22 million customers, many of them became very, very comfortable using our digital banking platform, Maybank to you, M2U, right? In the past, some are very reluctant, some still want to come to the branch and so forth. So now people are getting a lot more comfortable. From a staff perspective, it's like what Vinesh was saying. Previously, you want to meet personally. Like when people want to talk to me, if it's a call or even via Zoom, then they still feel that it's not yet done. It's still not complete. But today, no longer. So one of the blessings is we could engage with each other so easily from across our 20 countries. Remember, we are 43,000 people. Right. So today, I don't know whether you noticed, but if you check my postings, right, even our annual dinners, we are doing it via Zoom, and people have learned to really have fun. Their themes and all that, they dress up, don't care about what's underneath, right? But at least what can be seen is very much thematic, and people don't feel like something is still missing. So. People now have gotten to the level that truly understands that technology is just a tool, right? And it's what we do with it. So this is really beautiful where we are today.
Wonderful. Shazmi?
Well, being the last person to speak after the same question is kind of...
ran away from me just now, so you went that way.
No, so I think for me, a couple of things. One is how do we ensure everything is run from the mobile device? Because that's almost become our digital shadow wherever we move. It's almost impossible to live without it. So how can you do either work transaction or business transaction or liaising with your customers via the phone? I think that's really important. The other thing is, and people tend to forget, that Shell is probably the largest retailer in the world with the number of petrol stations that we have. So our entire push on the net zero emission, on reducing the carbon footprint will rely a lot on new technologies that come by. So on the business front, it's that piece, but overall, how do we get our interaction with our customers, our staff, our stakeholders, all done via mobile device more than anything else.
Cool. So Shazmi, I'll stay with you because we're moving on to our third question before we get into specific questions for all our individual panelists here today. And this is a question that many job seekers, especially fresh graduates, ask all the time. Has hiring practices changed in your organization? If so, how can a young talent prepare themselves for more employable years to come? Because it's all about being relevant all the time.
Yeah, so in terms of the hiring practice, it hasn't changed, to be honest. Shell, in the last 5 years, all our interviews are done virtually. Everything is via a video interview, and then it's a virtual call. So for us, there's not been much of a difference in terms of hiring practice. But what we have seen is the difference in the hiring needs. Yeah, so in the past, you have your traditional engineering degrees, which is fine, and we still need those people. But today is what can you bring different to the table? And we are always looking for that. The word that I use is my purple unicorn. And someone who brings different. It's not your cookie cutter, graduated first class, either in engineering or business degree and has not done anything else. Yeah, we want to see someone who has a bit of resilience, someone who has shown agility, someone who has fallen down but picked themselves up and come up. Now, those are the kind of people that we're looking for. The first class honors degree gets you the interview, to be honest, but whether we hire you or not, that's the different thing.
Yeah, so that's the different point. How about you, Norida? What's your views on the practices in your organization in terms of talent management, talent recruitment, and getting them to the next point of their career?
So I guess cultivating the courage and confidence to speak, that's something that is key, because if you want to be future leaders, we must be heard. Therefore, find your voice and be heard. That's very important. And of course, we also look for people who are very passionate and with entrepreneurial spirit as well. So it is also about strong integrity, the right work attitudes. All those are still remains very, very relevant in today, and humble as well. So those are some of the attributes that we look for.
Okay. So Vinesh, how about the PwC way?
Yeah, I think, Ben, there's two parts to the question, right? I think from a hiring practice perspective, I think, like all organizations, similarly for us, we're moving into a lot more job portals for sourcing of talents. We're doing a lot more engagement via social media and being present on the web, as rather than just being stuck to campus fairs and so on and so forth. And as just like all other organizations, our interviews are being done a lot more virtually, and that of course brings along with it a lot of its own challenges. You can't just interact in person. But I think one key thing that I want to point out for PwC specific is the point around we've embraced the point of diversity and the need for us to move away from just the traditional degree-based high marks hiring. And what we've done in that ecosystem is to rethink the way we assess people who want to come work with us, right? One thing we've done is to gamify the way we've worked with the neuroscience community. We've gamified the way we do some sort of some of the assessments that are in place. And what it does is that it assesses the cognitive, social, and emotional behavior resources rather than just what somebody's telling you in person, right? And what it does is it allows us the algorithms are built to allow us to look for specific roles or groups or similar roles that are based on our top talents, people who have a track record of being successful in an organization like ours. What we've tried to do is we've tried to take their DNA, the algorithm sort of catches and says, okay, in these sort of decision-making situations, what does the top talent do in PwC? And then it sort of mimics that in the way it captures the answers that someone who's coming in provides. And then we try and do a bit of a matching to say, okay, this person may or may not be a good fit. The second part of your question, man, in terms of what can a young person do to prepare themselves to kind of work, it's all about data, it's all about digital. I'm not even going to ask anymore whether you know how to use the Microsoft Office tools, because that's just expected, right? So I expect you to come in already being an Excel whiz. But above and beyond that, there's so much more that's happening in that side of the skill sets, right? I expect you to now go upskill yourself, data visualization. How do you analyze data? There's so many tools out there, Power BI, Alteryx, just to name a couple. That would absolutely differentiate a young person wanting to come in and work. And these things are available online. You're not expected to go do a 4-year degree on these things to differentiate yourself. So I think that's something that we are moving towards, and of course this will evolve as we go along.
Yes, transformation and adaptability. Well, Dato, your views, and then I'm going to stick with you. The reason I asked you to speak last because I'm going to stick with you to answer the next set of questions. So
Okay.
Tell us your views about this one.
Well, I want to highlight the fact that for me and for Maybank, right, we've gone away from looking for paper qualifications for more than almost a decade now, right? In the early days of our transformation, 2009, 2010, I've already instructed my team. I don't want you guys to look, even for our advertisements, we don't say CGPA minimum, whatever. It doesn't mean anything. So cognitive, well, our Go Ahead challenge, right? That really is the means of looking for the totality of the person that we want. So I'm going to differentiate between now and future, right? Now, because we are still MCO, RMCO, whatever CO, right? So it's not natural, right? Yet. And so we started interviewing because we continue recruiting. We've not stopped recruiting. 300 plus minimum every month, even in March, right? So we continue interviewing virtually. So there are many thousands of people who's been interviewed with us in our virtual interview rooms. We are therefore getting a lot of practice in that, and it is going to be a permanent means going future. But in post, when there's a vaccine, hopefully, inshallah, I'm a believer of hybrids because I believe in humans. In fact, when I worry if we delegate to the robots and to algos and AI, okay, I still want the human touch. I still want the physical platforms. So there will be a hybrid. In terms of what to prepare yourself with, to emphasize again on some of the points earlier, we look for beyond what you can give us on paper. So be prepared in terms of your CVs. If you show me a traditional CV, I will not be very impressed. Internally, I call it the future ready CV, and the future ready CV is actually a portfolio of proof points, right? What you've actually done. Put in everything that you've tested. Remember earlier I talked about just grab any opportunity. So even if it's not a permanent job, if you're helping somebody do a project, the person got a little gig, right? You're helping, put it into your portfolio. What did you do? Who did you work with? Those are what we look for. So that is what I call the future ready CV. Both for you, external candidates, but also our internal candidates, our staff.
Nice. So, very much about adaptability, and we're going to talk about relevance now. But what are some of the new work trends or initiatives that have happened this year that you think will forever change the way we work? I mean, you mentioned earlier in your speech silver lining.
For today. Like I mentioned choice. See, there are many bankers who are bankers by chance, by accident, okay? Deep in their hearts, they are either a baker or a writer, right? But because, again, parents, society, right? You must have a job. You don't have a job, you're a failure. And if a bank offers you, then you must grab it. Really, right? Today, as never before, you have a choice. And that also applies to companies, right? So I'm pushing my managers and my leaders to say, stop thinking traditionally in terms of resourcing ourselves. So the workforce configuration will be very different. I mentioned earlier, we have about 70% permanent as in the traditional staff. But then the 30% will be made up of gigs. We call it flex in, flex out. Right? We will allow externals to come in and do gigs, but we also allow internals to become gigs, to offer themselves out, right? And that's official. So we want to allow people to truly, I see this tagline, be all you can be, but then the policy and everything else actually hinders you, which is total nonsense, right? So truly, for now, we actually have the opportunity to really tell the person, be what you can be. If you are someone who works well remotely, so be it. We want your output, we want your outcome. You can choose that. Right, and if you think you are a person who need more structure, right? and you have to be in the office, fine, that's what we will offer you. So you will, variety and diversity and inclusivity really is the new normal to me, that will become more and more mainstream. Yeah.
Well, that's very nice to hear about being different and relevant as well. But even before 2020, Dato, technology has impacted how talent is recruited and retained, and the panel spoke about that earlier. Shazmi saying everything done by Zoom. Can you share your thoughts on this? Perhaps any personal experiences on integrating tech with talent management?
Wow. Talent management is a whole cycle, right? So how we recruit, I mentioned just now, right? There will be virtual aspects of it. You can be interviewed virtually. And by the way, we have many, like I said, who were interviewed virtually and then joined also virtually, okay? And when we asked them, because one of them was in a GRADUAN platform with me, right? When we asked her, so how do you feel, right? And she's totally Maybanked, all right? Yellow blood, okay? So I don't see any, as long as we are curating it, of course, right? I don't see any disadvantage or gaps, yeah, when we do it virtually from a recruitment standpoint. Performance-wise also, in terms of telemanagement, yeah, the whole cycle. Performance-wise, we are using a lot more of our conversation log in our HR system, right, which was quite dormant in the past. Today, it's 40,000 chats and entries a month, right? And that's how we monitor as well. Zoom time is another one, right? To make sure that people are using productive hours. In terms of learning and development, my goodness, our hashtag learning never stops saw the highest number of learners in March. Can you imagine that? That's when everybody's like default work from home. And our 23,000, right, majority of our people are at home. We immediately launched technology in terms of learning, and we call it hashtag learning never stops. Within 2 weeks, we had 17,000 learners. We've never had that before. So that's learning, that's development. And then, it goes around in terms of retention. We had our talent review sessions, totally virtual. We had so people no longer need to be physically in front of you for us to assess, and people get a lot of experience. We're getting a lot more experience in terms of how to really assess someone when the person is not physically in front of you. Yeah.
Nice.
I hope I answered your question.
No, you answered the question extremely well. So Vinesh, I'm going to ask you, can you share with us some of the pros and cons of these new norms in the workplace? Because the whole panel today has spoken about going to another level, embracing tech, but can you tell us about the pros and cons?
Yeah, I'll start with the cons first, Ben. I think, I mean, it's sad, right? I mean, I started earlier when you asked me the first question, and I talked about mental well-being. I mean, let's put it this way, right? Nobody has gone through this before, and here's the con, because a 23-year-old me didn't need to think about, didn't need to adapt overnight to physically being distant from friends and family. Think about it, an organization like PwC, we have a lot of young people who work with us, and they're living in the Klang Valley on their own, right? They're away from their family and their friends. And back in March, they didn't have the choice. They couldn't get onto a last-minute bus to go back to their kampongs. And so suddenly, they were left with this sudden, overwhelming sense of loneliness after a period of time. Why? Because as a nation, we didn't have an opportunity to progress into this whole physically distant work arrangements, remote working. I'm using these words interchangeably, remote working and physically distant working. And I think the con of the sudden current norm is the fact that people are beginning to suffer from social distancing or physical distancing withdrawal symptoms. And I think that's an issue that is going to bring forth. And because we didn't get an opportunity to progress into this new norm, people have adapted to this on different speeds. So we do have people who are struggling, and we do have people who are so used to it. So when the virus eventually, it is brought under some level of management, and we try to reevaluate where we are as a race, as humankind, and as well as a working environment, I think we are going to be left with a difficult period of transition where we need to realign expectations at the workplace and how work is delivered. I mean, like all the other panelists pointed out, it's a little bit like the voice now, right? I don't have to see you, but I'm just evaluating you purely on the work output. That's great. But I think the trade-off of physical interaction is going to prove to be a bit of an issue. And so, that's what I think is part of the cons. When it comes to the pros, it's a fantastic opportunity for us to rethink a whole lot of things. I think one is the capabilities and skill set that we think is important today at the workplace. And as much as being a digitally capable person is important, I think there is a bigger opportunity now for us to think about the human skills that is needed. One of the initiatives that we have globally at PwC is the New World New Skills Initiative, and recognizing the fact that people need, organizations and governments and societies need to go digital, means that we are in a position to help. We are in a position to talk about it and to share our experience and to help upskill people. There's lots of literature out there. I'm not going to bore you to that with those details, but go look it up, right? New World, New Skills by PwC, and we're partnering a lot of organizations. That's one opportunity to bring forth the human skills needed to live and work and play in a very digital world. And I think the second opportunity is the opportunity to rethink how we use time. Previously, I needed to put aside an hour or so each way to get to work and back, right? Today, I need maybe 10 minutes on a good day, maybe a little extra on a bad day when I wake up on the wrong side of the bed. But that means I've got so much more time to be productive. I can just jump in, get some work done, and then just step out, go and do some other thing, step in and out. And it's an opportunity for me to be to expand my capabilities, expand the time and how I use it to grow myself. So these two things. I mean, there's many more, but I'm mindful of the time that you.
Thanks, Finish. Thanks for that. And Norida, I mean, the workplace is constantly transforming, and I don't like to talk about the cliches of work, like I said earlier, but we all talk about KPIs every day. Those three, wonderful or not so wonderful acronym. And KPIs are shifting. What's your advice for our audience watching today on how to prepare themselves in terms of being flexible and adaptable? Because that's what Nora spoke about earlier. Look, if you can work from home and deliver, great. What's your views?
Yeah, it's true. Because today, we are fast at becoming irrelevant very rapidly. So to be nimble, we must be open and have the willingness to learn and make the necessary adjustment for change so that we can adapt, grow, and develop ourselves. Reality today is we need to work through a loop of learning, unlearning, and relearning. While learning is something all of us are familiar with, but it's a bit more than just attending courses or training, but it's about the growth mindset. It's about having an element of love for learning, but more important is around resilience, and that will ensure great accomplishments. So the challenging part is about unlearn, is to create space to learn new things. This requires a bit more courage because all your years of experience that have served you well, the question we need to ask ourselves is, whilst it has served us well, if we hang on to our point of view and the way we think, as environment around us has changed rapidly. So once we cross the hurdle of courage, then curiosity creeps in, and then we actually find that learning something new suddenly becomes possible. And how we do this is by keeping relevant, seeking perspective, and continuing our journey of learning. And we will make mistakes along the way, but the process and the joy is the journey itself.
Nice. Okay, that's a really good point. Shazmi, in terms of some companies have decided to work from home on a permanent operational level for their staff, especially this year. But even without COVID, some companies were shifting towards that trend. I mean, what about your organization? What's your organization and Shell's views on this?
So I think the most important bit is the flexibility, right? People like flexibility. Prior to the pandemic, a lot of people wanted to work from home. When the pandemic happened and when they had to work from home, people were unhappy that they had to work from home. And now when they are used to working from home, now a lot of them want to come back to the office. But I think as long as there is flexibility, and that is the principle and mantra of Shell, to allow the flexibility of people have the option to choose, I think people will be happy. If you say completely everyone has to work from home, there will be a pocket, or probably a large size pocket, that might not be too happy because they don't like, because not everyone has a comfortable study, not everyone has grown-up children or single life that working from home is so easy. A lot of us like me have got 3 little monsters that is always trying to appear in all my video calls. So managing them at home while working is not easy. So you've got to give people that flexibility.
Okay. Now, speaking of that flexibility, I mean, Vinesh, because this is one of your questions as well, working from home, that is the biggest change for this year and probably the previous years. Can you share your experience in how your organization rolled out this initiative? And what are the challenges of integrating it? Because just because you can say, okay, you can work from home, it may not work tomorrow. It may not work the day after. It takes time.
Yeah. Okay. So to be fair, we were, I suppose, a little bit more prepared than many others because we had actually gone on online collaboration tools a couple of years earlier. So people were fairly familiar and able to transition to that, right? And that's the hardware part. From a softer side of things, we had actually introduced what we call the flex policy, also about a year prior, which actually was built on trust, right? The firm provided this policy where you do get work done wherever you wanted, but be available when needed and deliver what is needed. So these things sort of came to a head together and actually put us on a slightly less tumultuous journey when we were all given 24 hours to suddenly work from home back in March 2020. So in that sense, PwC was slightly a little bit more better prepared. But the reality for us as a business is that we are a client service business across all our lines of service. And so then, making sure, for us as an organization, I mean, the challenge was making sure that we were able to provide the right well-being and safety expectations of our staff while servicing the client's needs, because not all clients are also able to work from home the way we are able to. So we may be able to deliver what is needed remotely, but our clients may not, right? And not all clients are comfortable working, interacting online. And so that's one challenge. Now, again, transitioning into this new period, I think, Dr. Nora mentioned earlier as well. Similarly, we too have now made a commitment that all our learning material is now going to be delivered virtually for the rest of our financial year ending in June. So that's important, right? People knew that they were still going to be able to learn and upskill, and everything was available virtually. But most importantly, I think as an organization, what we did really well was in that period of transition, we focused a lot about how to make sure we kept people engaged and were able to make sure that we kept people's well-being at the forefront. Regular communications, we did a lot of town halls just to address questions because there was so much of uncertainty around the country at that time. I think we did a lot of care packages. I think that the goodness of people, the care came to the forefront of everyone in the organization. Teammates were sending food packets to each other. People were organizing virtual workout sessions to make sure that they were keeping fit together. So all of this came together for us at PwC in transitioning into this new norm.
Nice. So we've got 2 more questions before we're taking some questions from the many questions that are being asked at the moment. And we do apologize to all our viewers if we can't answer all the questions, because in the spirit of time, because we have another 2 sessions to run through straight after this. So it's like clockwork, just like on television. But thanks for, Narita, can you talk about inclusiveness? That seems to be the big topic these days. What's your definition of how this is practiced in your organization?
Well, we need actually to create a culture of conscious inclusiveness as if it was a business objective. Now, for Prudential, our purpose is to help people get the most out of life. And we live our purpose by creating a culture where diversity is celebrated and inclusion is at the heart of our people and our customers. So as a learning organization, we constantly encourage innovation ideas that comes from all levels of employees. So Prudential recently embarked on a few initiatives to drive inclusivity. We had 72 hours of collaboration jam across the whole globe. We received 31,000 comments from several thousand over employees globally. And it's a platform to share ideas and suggestions how to build the future of Prudential together. So I thought that was very powerful, and getting all employees involved and giving their ideas to give us a better company. We also define inclusive leadership traits that will be deployed to all our top leaders, and we do that as well for hiring, promoting, and rewarding people next year. Yeah. So sponsoring programs to help and support diverse representation of our population in leadership and talent is also important and key. In our office, to foster greater collaboration and inclusiveness, our new office design is also an open collaboration workspace that's designed and built for our people. And the aim is to encourage open communication channel and nurture inclusions across all teams and businesses. So inclusiveness is a journey, and every day is a new learning for all of us. So discovering new ways to build better connection with our people. So our approach to learning inclusiveness is to continue to listen with open mind, engaging them, and I guess create a place where employees feel belong. That's the most important.
Now, nicely said, Norida. And Shazmi, the final question before we open it up to the virtual floor is that technology and pandemic aside, what are some of the other factors that have changed how we perceive the workplace?
I think the entire world of workplace have completely changed. If today I'm starting up a new business, for example, do I need an office? That's the first question. Secondly, okay, let's say I need an office. Do I need to go and rent one, or do I just go to a lot of the work sharing places and set up one? So if today you're a graduate and you know, if you want to start up your own business instead of joining one of our organizations, it's so easy. Your overhead cost is almost nothing. You can either work from home, set up your business from home. You know, Bill Gates started from his old garage, etc. You can still do it now. Or if you really need a meeting space where everyone needs to gather and you don't want to buy a cup of coffee, you go to this working space area. So I think the entire world of workspace have completely changed, and I think we are still defining it. I don't think we all have the answers today, but we are still defining what is a workspace. And my worry is that after a while we lose the concept of my cocoon or my home, because you don't know how to differentiate where is home, where is office. Today you go to office, you come back, that's your safe environment, your home. But very soon, where is the safe environment? And I think all of us need to define what makes us happy, what recharges us, what is a safe space for us, because that line is going to be completely blurred.
Nice. Okay. Thanks very much, panel. We're going to give you a virtual clap. Let's give each other a virtual clap. Okay. Very well said. Very good points. I mean, we could talk about this longer, but let's go to our wonderful participants. A question. I'm going to start with Dato, and I'm going to go with Norida, Vinesh, and Shazmi for this question. It's talking about mental health, which is a big topic in professionally and personally these days. Dato, how do you assess and keep up with the mental well-being of your employees whilst working remotely? Subset to that question, what are the approaches that your company practices ensuring workers are able to maintain productivity virtually, to ensure that they work? So I'll get Dato to start off with that, then Norida, then Vinesh, then Shazmi. If I go in and out in terms of, you see my black screen for about 10 seconds, don't worry. I'm just trying to boost the speed of my net. So I'm also working remotely and virtually. So very much in the practice of that. So Dato, please take it away.
Well, listening is harder than speaking. We all know this, right? So we invest a lot in terms of our listening, because we are all going through, as all the speakers have said, these are new challenges, new landscape, and that's why we are trying to get the right new normals, right? The last thing we want is people prescribing, okay, and trying to stereotype and all go to the extremes. Anything extreme is bad. We all talked about diversity and inclusivity. We need to truly understand that people are different, right? And now we have the tools, we have the capability to truly then include, right? Like Norida was saying, conscious inclusion, right? Consciously include people. So the short answer to that is we do a lot of surveys. We do a lot of Kahoots, if you like, right? So at the very beginning in March, right, we had a baseline that, although logically we knew, but we were still caught by surprise. What Shazmi was saying just now, we found that because, prior to this, when we were doing our flex workforce rollouts and all that, we kept thinking, oh, we are actually helping parents with young children, right? So that they can work from home, but that's totally untrue, right? With the MCO, the survey results came back and said it was the parents who had young children who said, "Get me back to the office," okay, because they need to be able to to have that structure. So we listen, we survey, we ask all the time. And that's how we also know, what to do and what to give at that time. It's also not something that you want to roll out permanently, because you will have to tweak it as you listen more and you hear more when you ask. So we have, now it's permanent, for example, in our organization, I have my ESS, my emergency support services. So all staff know what number to call, and these are managed by live people. They're not robots, okay? And it's through their mobile phones. They don't have to be in the office. Our call center is running everywhere, right? That's the ESS. Anytime, any emergencies, whether it's emotional, mental, physical, right? They can call. We also have our CEMs. Now is a permanent feature, which is my customer experience managers. It's a full-time job now in GHC, in human capital. They also are supporting our people to the second question is not in terms of even productivity, if they have a problem, because now we have so many diverse people, right? Some are mobile working at home, some are not, because we are a bank, so we are in essential service, right? So a proportion of our people are on the ground. They also have their needs. Otherwise, then we are stereotyping again, and we are only supporting those work from home, isn't it? People who are not working from home have their challenges as well. They are afraid as well, right? In terms of having to meet people and expose themselves. So we have our CEMs. We also we started offering way back in February, counselors. So we have full-time counselors in the organization, but for people who, again, diversity, we don't just talk about it, right? We discipline ourselves to cater to diversity. So not everybody is comfortable talking to an in-house counselor, so we also have external counselors. So all these are offered to our people on top of course, the programs that we run. So we are in the face, if you like. It's not a cliche when people say, oh, the COVID pandemic is a HR one, because HR is put forth, right? Because the last economic crisis is a finance one, it's a CFO one, right? So this one truly it's about people, right? So the safety of our people and so forth. So we are ensuring that we are in the face. Okay, just now the in terms of physical fitness and all that, also everything is hashtag. People get to post. We force people into this virtual groups, and later they get into the groove of it. Remember, these are new behaviors, right? We had to force. We had to be a pest, okay, and say you actually need help, right? The hashtag work from home. Every day we ask them the one question to help them get into the new normal. And at the very beginning, we even asked them to post where you are working from at home, because you're right. Somebody mentioned this now. Not everybody has a palatial palace, right? We have single people who are renting rooms, isn't it? So we actually guide them. We say it's okay. It might be that little space under your stairs that is your sanctuary to do your work. Post it, show us, right? Or it's just outside your porch because you don't have any other place. Outside your porch, beside your favorite plant. It's fine, right? So we were helping people every day in terms of getting used to what's right for them, and monitoring, of course, people's emotional and mental health. I mentioned just now cases. These are real cases. We had to reach out to our people who were getting a little bit depressed, looking at the four walls, isn't it? So those are actively, and we are still learning. We're still learning in terms of what else we need to do. Okay.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Norida?
Oh, to me, mental health starts from awareness, and it's very important for the whole organization to be aware and for leaders to recognize that our people may have issues, and there's nothing wrong about it. So what happened was we all celebrated the World Mental Health a couple of weeks ago, right? So the beauty of it is we had a global, we call it disconnect to reconnect. So we asked all employees to disconnect, but we all reconnected on Zoom, where we had all our top leaders from London, from Hong Kong, and globally to share their personal experience going through some of the past. So by them sharing it, we also encourage and show to our employees that it's okay to talk about it. And I guess that's most key, because a lot of the times people do not want to bring it up for fear of how leaders will look at them if they say that they do have issues or have some concerns that they dare not even raise. So having awareness, I think, is the starting point.
Okay. Ladies, as they say, ladies first, so I'll let you go first already, because in the spirit of time, the question I'm going to ask the whole panel straight after this, and I'm going to give the ladies the advantage first, is that you have to think of one hashtag word that sums up this topic. So I'm going to let Vinesh and Shazmi answer the mental health question, their views, and then we'll go back to Dr. Nora, Norida, Vinesh, and Shazmi, a hashtag to end, to summarize this topic. So you ladies can think about that first, but Vinesh, about mental health?
Yeah, I think that we're at a point where mental health is important. Everybody realizes and talks about it. They're aware, but I think we need to talk a little bit more, because we still need to remove the surrounding taboo that comes with mental health. People still need to be comforted to know that it's okay to have a mental health condition. It's okay. And I think managers need to start thinking about the fact that it is a real issue. It's not something that you can see. And so when you can't see it, you don't understand it. And you know, like everyone rightly pointed out, this sudden change in working environment meant that we've all had to adapt to this new normal in a very different way. Some are having it a little bit more difficult than others. So the way we are processing and dealing with this mentally is very different. So there is still a little bit of taboo around it, and people find it difficult to say, you know what, I really need to just switch off and go away for a while, and then you suddenly feel like, oh, have I let my team down? Have I not done enough? Everybody's working for 12 hours. I've only worked for 11 hours and 45 minutes. Does that mean I've done less? I think that's point one. But I think point two is also from a managerial side of things. That relearning is going on, right? Previously, if somebody is out of sight, out of mind, the first thing that we're saying is okay, this person's slacking off, this person's not doing what they're supposed to do. I think today people are beginning to realize that our first reaction when somebody's not reachable should be to say, is this person okay? Does this person need a little bit of help? How do I quickly reach out to this person? Is there a network of friends I can reach out to get this person on board and see if this person is doing well or mentally is well, right? And I think so. Those are the two things I think we need to quickly learn to upskill our own selves in all organizations.
Right, very nice.
We are ahead of time, so I'll try to make this as short as possible on the mental health bit. So we do multiple kind of programs for mental health. I think the first one is we have the Care for Self program. So before anything else, you have to start caring for yourself. And we've got a whole program on that one. And then we train managers on how do you look out for signals or signposts that maybe your team members are not doing all right. And don't ask them, how are you? Because we are not typical English speakers. The answer that we learn in school to how are you is, I'm fine, thank you. Irrespective whether you're fine or not. And that's your standard answer. So we ask, how are you feeling? What are you feeling today? And then the answers come of stress, etc. we launched a program called It's Okay to Say I'm Not Okay. And we had very senior leaders who become very successful people in Shell come and say, I suffer from this mental problem. And if I've suffered, but I can still grow my career, and if you have any kind of mental challenge, not an issue for you to voice it out. And last but not least, we have an employee assistance program. Basically, it's a care line, completely confidential for staff to dial in directly to some clinical psychologists or psychiatrists to make an assessment of how they feel. The reason why it has to be directly someone external is because a lot of people feel if we train somebody in HR, that somebody in HR will gossip and tell everyone else that I've got a challenge. So that's why we do someone external. On productivity, when the pandemic first hit, the first thing we told everyone is relook at your goals and change it, because you're not going to be able to achieve all your goals. So we are giving you a green light to rework all your goals, change your goals, and make it more realistic, because you're not going to achieve whatever that you set. And then I think that shows care for people, that, oh, at least my bosses understand that I'm still not supposed to run at 100 kilometers per hour.
Okay. Look, to our panel, you all individually have listed us some very, very good points. And I mean, which is not just about your company and how you do things, which is first class and world class, but also very sympathetic to the new audience out there in terms of how to manage one's career. But speaking about managing one's career and the new norm in talent management, the one-word hashtag to just summarize this topic, no right or wrong answer. Dr. Nora, I'll start with you.
One word.
Yes, one-word hashtag. It's a challenge. It's not easy. I gave you a warning, yeah?
Yep. Okay, then I'll choose hashtag courage.
Courage. Okay. Norida?
Hashtag agile.
Hashtag agile. Finish?
Hashtag human skills.
Well, that's 2 words, man. That's okay. It's a hashtag. It's fine. Okay. Shazmi?
Hashtag live, as in live your life.
LIVE. And you can also hashtag LIFE because it's your life and nobody else's. Look, Dato, Nora, Puan Norida, Vinesh, and Shazmi, thank you so much for your time on this Saturday morning, and Dato Nora, thanks for the coffee earlier as well. You all be safe, you all be good, and keep being the inspiration that you are, not just in your careers, because you are all very inspirational people internally to the organizations that you work for, and to all the viewers on GRADUAN Aspire. On behalf of all those viewers and everybody here at GRADUAN Aspire, we thank you, and we'll be in touch very soon. Be safe and keep well, yeah? Thank you for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you and well done.
Thank you, Dato.
Thank you, man. Thanks, fellow panelists. Take care.